Let's go. We see that hype outside. Right from the house.
Guys, Golden here, and welcome to the final day of week number 2, the day 10 recap of the Epic Games versus Apple trial. Today was, no joke, the best day of the trial we have ever had. I'm being completely serious, guys. This was the most impactful day of the trial, but it really only got good towards the end. So I promise, guys, I know I said this a lot, but this time you're really gonna want to listen to me. If you guys watch until the very end, you'll understand why this was the best day of the trial. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but just trust me. But before we get right on into it, now that Fortnite Mobile is most likely going to be returning this month, if you guys do want to support what I've done for you guys, recapping this trial and all these other videos that I've been posting for all of you guys, I would really appreciate it if whenever iOS does return, you consider using code GOLDEN in the Fortnite item shop. Because fun fact, I actually do have a code, and the support really does mean a lot. So thank you guys so much for everyone who does use my code. But either way, you guys know I don't want to waste you guys this time, so let's get right on into it. So first off, guys, the court day actually started off with Epic asking if they could present on Monday, May 24th, and the judge actually agreed. So we now have an end date of this trial. So like I talked about at the beginning of this trial, the trial is currently planned to end May 24th, or at least a week of May 24th. So only 1 week away, guys, and we'll finally be done with all this legal stuff between Epic Games and Apple, at least hopefully. Now the judge actually also confirmed that they're going to be doing this in a debate style. Instead of like having like one side present all their information, then the other side present all their information, they're going to actually be going back and forth, trying to defend their points and also attack each other at the same time. It's going to get super crazy. So this week is going to be intense, to say the least. But anyways, we actually started off the trial with David Evans from Epic Games onto the stand. I just want to quickly say thank you so much, Epic and Apple, for actually getting witnesses who I can actually read their names, because before it was kind of bad. But anyways, I actually started off with boring stuff as usual, so I actually skip over some of the stuff that you probably don't care about. But anyways, the judge then actually asked Epic if Epic thinks the government should break up the App Store and force them to add competition. And Epic actually explained that there is a debate around Google and Apple, and Epic wants the antitrust laws to deal with these companies. So Epic basically said that they actually want the government to get involved in this antitrust situation and all this stuff between Epic, Apple, Google, all these people. But anyways, the lawyer then actually asked if Epic is saying that Apple should offer its technology, or aka like the developer tools on the actual iOS devices, obviously, for completely free. And an Epic representative simply replied saying, "I am not saying that." So if you guys actually didn't know, Epic has never mentioned that they want no fees in the situation. They're more fighting for a lower commission, not necessarily like 0%. They're just saying they don't think it should be as excessive as 30%, because guys, 30% is crazy. 30% is a lot to take from developers. And Epic is also mainly fighting for their own app store on iOS devices, like a mobile Epic Games Store. And they also obviously want like third-party payment options to be allowed on the App Store, where Epic can obviously offer customers Apple's payment method, or Epic's, which will obviously also give a cheaper price. But to kind of explain Apple's point of view in like a metaphor way, Apple's argument is that, let's say you have like two identical shirts next to each other, and one of them is being sold for $10, like aka like the Epic's payment option, while the other one is being sold for $15. Nobody's gonna buy the $15 shirt. So Apple's claiming that they can obviously not make any more money from the App Store if Epic wins this lawsuit. However, Apple could always lower their prices. Like for example, Apple decided to lower their payment option for V-Bucks down to, let's say, like $7 for 1,000 V-Bucks instead of Epic's $8. Obviously, Apple would get more purchases, and therefore they would make more money, which is what Epic wants: competition. But anyways, Apple then actually claimed that they have no competitors at the moment. And then Epic uses to attack Apple, explaining how if Apple has no competitors, then why doesn't Apple allow developers to put links leading to cheaper prices onto iOS apps? So basically, why doesn't Apple allow third-party payment processor links inside of the apps? And then Apple actually then said, because of the 30% commission, developers have an incentive to want to lead customers to a different platform where Apple does not take a commission. And they explained how they have these rules to prevent a developer from informing the customer that there is an alternative option available for them. So Apple basically just admitted that they have this commission to obviously make money, and they're basically admitting that they don't want customers to get a cheaper price or to know that there's a cheaper price available for them, which is kind of a little bit messed up if you hear it like that. But anyways, Apple then actually brings up the term quote-unquote rogue app store, and the judge asks if a rogue app store would be an app store that offers, let's say, adult content. And then Epic actually explained how if Apple wanted, they could still decide if they do or don't want these kind of app stores on the iOS devices. They could be like, you know, we don't want this kind of third-party app store on the iOS app store. Then they could say, you know, remove from the app store, get that app store off of our app store because it breaks our terms of service. But anyways, an Apple lawyer then brings up this like American Express lawsuit, which if you guys didn't know, American Express is like a credit card company where you guys can use American Express to obviously buy things at stores and stuff. But in this lawsuit with American Express, the government actually ruled that American Express did not have monopoly power. And then basically Apple is bringing this up, explaining how we don't have monopoly power because clearly if the government decided that they don't have monopoly power, neither do we. However, then Epic came back with a counter explaining how American Express did not actually prevent displays saying that they accept Visa, MasterCard, etc. Basically like other payment options, while meanwhile Apple does prohibit developers from advertising other payment methods. So overall, a really solid point coming out from Epic, because overall Epic explained how you guys would still be considered a monopoly because you guys are completely different from the American Express situation where obviously they did allow other payment methods. Anyways though, then they take a break and then more boring stuff is talked about. So once again, fast forwarding a little bit, we then heard from an Epic representative who actually shared a survey from Apple to developers. And the survey actually asks, imagine the App Store increase the prices of all in-app purchases or subscriptions by 5%. And Epic uses to explain how Apple could simply increase these prices on the App Store whenever they want, and the developers wouldn't be able to do anything about this because of Apple's massive control over the App Store. So overall, another good point from Epic. But anyways, here's where it really starts getting good. This was where Epic just went off on Apple. So it started off with another Epic representative taking the stand, James Mickens, a former researcher at Microsoft. And she actually explained how she researched the App Store security and said this: if you look at security properties iOS devices provide to its user, most of the security actually comes from its operating system. And she explained how the app review actually provides minimal additional security benefits. So she was basically saying that most of the iOS device's safety experience is guaranteed by the actual device's security, not the actual app review process that Apple actually provides and claims that they're doing it for security. And she actually used this to explain how if a third-party app store was allowed, or if any third-party app store was allowed in the App Store, such as like an Epic Games launcher, this would not lead to a less secure experience. Now, the judge actually then asked, by having a third-party app on an iOS device that hasn't been approved by Apple, could the device be taken over? And Epic then actually explained how iOS devices actually have an automatic feature called quote-unquote sandboxing, which is an automatic security layer on iOS devices which limits the actions an app can actually do. It basically limits what an app can do, preventing malicious or bad apps from taking control or risking a device's security. Now, if you guys didn't know, when you guys are actually on iOS devices, there's a bunch of restrictions on what apps can actually do. Like an app can't just be like, all right, I'm gonna take over your device, I'm gonna hack everything, I'm gonna get all your information. Apple actually has security features built in that doesn't allow that. Like, for example, you guys will get like a pop-up like, are you sure you want this app to, let's say, send you notifications or track your location or stuff like that in order to ensure that you actually have a secure experience on Apple devices. So after hearing this, the judge then actually asked, so if an app ends up on a device through a way outside of Apple's control, will the device still be protected? And Epic actually explains how all of these sandboxing security mechanisms will protect the device no matter how the app gets on the phone. So honestly, a really good answer from Epic. They're basically explaining how no matter how you install this on like a weird, shady website in the middle of nowhere. Let's say you install an app that actually has bad content on it. That app could actually not really do much to your iOS device because of Apple's built-in security, which is kind of good to hear. And they're basically using Apple's own security methods against Apple, which is kind of crazy. The judge then actually asks why Android has more security issues than the iPhone. So the judge is clearly a little bit skeptical here. And then Epic actually claims Android actually does not have a meaningful difference in security issues and explains how they are roughly equivalent if you look at the big picture. I really did not expect that answer. Epic is claiming that Android actually has the same security as Apple, which is kind of crazy to hear. And according to the judge, she actually personally thought that Android has more security issues. And you guys gotta understand, Android has a lot more freedom. They allow third-party app stores, stuff like that on their devices. However, according to Epic, it's still a secure device and just as secure as Apple devices are roughly secure. Now, maybe a little bit more security issues or so, but overall, they're claiming it's about the same. Epic is then actually asked, how does sandboxing compose to Apple's official app review? And they actually explain how everything Apple does can be automatically enforced by the iOS device, so it does not need an Apple representative doing so. And Epic actually explained how the human review process is actually weak. So to kind of summarize, Epic basically just said that it's useless to have Apple representatives searching these apps and going through them when you already have the iOS device security, which can do it for them. So then the judge actually asks, are you saying that there is no value in human review? And then Epic actually explains how they're suggesting the benefit in human review is very minimal at best. And Epic also explains how the average time an Apple employee spends on an app review is only 6 to 12 minutes. I mean, guys, 6 to 12 minutes, that is basically nothing. I mean, they're probably just scrolling through the app, checking for basic stuff, make sure there's no malware or whatever. However, the sandboxing method already does that, which is basically Epic's point. They really don't need human review. But anyways, Epic then goes into the Apple's Developer Enterprise program, which if you guys didn't know what that is, it's basically allowing anyone to install any device they want to the device without approval from Apple. However, Epic explained with this service, the device is already protected by on-device security, and with this program you guys can obviously install any app without app review, developer identification, or signing of the app. So overall, it's clear that there could easily be malicious content on this app. However, because of Apple's built-in security, it automatically will detect it and obviously will not allow the app to do anything bad onto the iOS devices. So overall, with this point, Epic is just trying to explain how Apple already has other ways of installing apps without approval from Apple, and there really hasn't been any issues with security from those apps. So the point is, if Apple allowed third-party app stores on Apple devices, the device would still be protected because of the security built into the device. And then the judge actually asks, is iOS more secure than macOS? And the Epic representative says, I wouldn't say it's meaningfully more secure. Now guys, that is a huge point. The judge basically is just wondering, like, all right, so iOS obviously has way less freedom than macOS. I mean, macOS, you can install anything from anywhere. It's basically, you know, computers are completely free. However, according to Epic, they just made it clear that iOS devices are actually barely more secure than Mac devices, even though Mac devices are way more free. I mean, guys, you can literally install anything from anywhere. So the lawyer seemed very interested by this, and the lawyer actually asked, does macOS do anything differently to enforce security? And then Epic actually explains how it shares many of the same security procedures iOS devices do, but on Macs, apps are not reviewed and the devices are much more free. But he does also explain how macOS does have a few more distinct security features, but many of these security features could apparently also be applied to iOS. However, because Apple obviously wants to maintain the control on the iOS platform, they're simply choosing to not bring the same security from Mac onto iOS devices. So I mean, guys, you cannot lie. Epic is just destroying Apple with these points right now. But anyways, Epic continued to bash Apple and also explaining how if iOS was open to third-party app stores, this actually would not prevent users from using the regular app store, and it wouldn't stop Apple from reviewing the apps on the app store. So I mean, guys, Epic basically explained if they won, they would not want the app store completely removed. Obviously, they still want the app store, and they were explaining how these two things, like third-party app stores and the main app store, can coexist, kind of like Android. If you guys didn't know, Android has like the default Play Store on every single device. However, you can still use apps like the Galaxy Store, third-party app stores, to install apps like Fortnite and such. That's why Fortnite is not fully banned on Android devices. Now, finally, after all these really good points by Epic, the judge finally admits it and explains how Epic's made some really good points about the third-party access. So there it is, guys. Once again, the judge is saying that Epic has made some really good points against Apple, kind of like they did last week. I mean, guys, it's just so clear. Epic is doing so good in this trial. I mean, just saying, we haven't heard anything from the judge saying Apple's made any good points. So all I'm saying, guys, I think it's quite clear that Epic is currently winning this lawsuit. But yeah, guys, with that being said, that is everything you need to know about day number 10 of the Epic Games versus Apple trial. Week 2 is finally complete, and one word to summarize today is wow. This was easily the best day of the trial, without a doubt. Hope you guys can agree with me there. Epic brought up the best points we have ever heard from them, and this is really looking good for Fortnite mobile players, because if Epic wins, the game 100% returns. So let's hope they win the last week. And if you guys actually forgot, this week, not like last week, but week number 3 will be the last week of the Epic Games versus Apple trial. However, it's not over yet, guys, because we're still going to be hearing from Tim Cook Cook, the CEO of Apple, later this week, but it's clear that Epic is winning so far. But again, we have yet to hear from Apple CEO. So if you guys want to know what's happening during the last week of this trial, the most important week, make sure you guys all go down below and subscribe with those post notifications on. And also make sure you guys all drop a like if you guys appreciate me taking time to listen to 7 hours of court trial every single day to just make these videos for all of you guys. But yeah, guys, this week's gonna be crazy, and we might actually see Fortnite finally returning to the App Store. But I'll see you guys Monday for the start of week 3.